As Lewis Hamilton marches closer to making history, Renault awakens, and the Pink Panthers look like kittens. And Ferrari, oh Ferrari, let's jump the start.
Guys, welcome in to the Jump to Start Racing podcast. I'm your host, Wellington. I'm here joined by two of my closest friends. Yhancy, say hello.
Hi.
Whoa.
Yeah. Ruben?
What's going on, guys? Wake up.
Yeah. Not that exciting of a race, Belgian Grand Prix. We're just coming off of it, recording right after. Let's just jump into it. Guys, what are your quick takeaways from this race? Ruben, what did you think coming out of this race?
Come on, F1 TV got to get their crap together, man. That's the best thing we got to say.
That I agree with.
F1 TV was, I thought at the beginning, it was just my signal. You know, since I was doing like a cellular signal out of my computer.
I had the same problems.
But then Twitter was all over the place. Everybody complaining. Come on. Yeah. They got to do better. We're paying for this service. This is not free. This is not like a stolen signal. We're paying. They got to get this stuff together.
So basically, the race was so boring, the only thing we can complain about was F1 TV.
That's his race takeaway. Yhancy, what's your race takeaway?
Renault, baby. Renault. I told you, watch out for Renault. They are going to have a good weekend. They do very good on fast tracks. They're going to have another good weekend again in Monza. Danny Rick drove spectacularly. I think if he had two more laps, he probably could have overtaken Max. He was going that fast. So that was really the only thing that stood out to me. And just some bad strategy calls. I think Perez going too long on the tires and also Gasly going too long on the tires, I think killed their race. I think they had the pace to do better and finish up a little bit higher than they did. Even though I was surprised that they went through the field as quick as they did when they did do their pit stops. But yeah, I think if they would have stopped with the other cars, they probably would have had a better position at the end of the race.
And
yeah, for me, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And the driver of the day, our boy Gasly, he's still shining. He pushed through the field today too, even though he didn't stop with the other. He stopped pretty much around the time Perez stopped, but he still pushed through the field and still fighting. And this served the driver of the day today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, quick takeaway was Monza is going to be a freaking disaster. It's going to be just as boring. So just a quick rundown of the day's events. But during the race, we didn't see much action. Prior to the race starting, McLaren had announced that Carlos Sainz would not be able to participate due to an exhaust issue. He had qualified P7 on Saturday. Lando Norris actually finished P7 in the race. It would have been nice to see Carlos Sainz battling it out alongside of him. One of the other major things during the race was a safety car on lap 10. Antonio Giovinazzi crashed into a barrier and then ricocheted back on track. His wheel actually had flown off and it collected George Russell, who was trying to avoid it, but he really couldn't. That caused a safety car, which caused a lot of issues as far as strategy because it was much sooner than a lot of teams wanted to pit. And as a result of the pits, we saw some guys do some wonky strategy, in particular Sergio Perez. But as a result of the strategy, the race end seemed to be primarily about nursing tires, which made for a very boring race. But let's attack the winner and work our way down. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and Max Verstappen on the podium. Did we expect anything else? I think Yhancy got the predictions correct this time again.
Thank you very much.
Me too. I think I got the predictions right as well.
Oh, Ruben knows to just follow my lead.
Yeah, the rain that was supposed to happen during this race just did not happen. Very disappointed. Literally across the whole weekend, not during qualifying, not during the race itself. So much. The
only suspense that we had was maybe at the end where we thought that maybe Max would pit for better tires because the tires were going. I know that Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton had problems with the tires as far as making them last. But I think with Wellington, you text me, you said that it might get interesting at the end, but I said, nah, I think that Mercedes has a way of working through these problems. I think they foresaw it, and as it finished, it is what it is. And another Mercedes won too. Yay!
Yeah.
But something also caught my my attention at the beginning of the race. Our boy Bottas finally has a clean start. He did not. He finally had a clean start. He didn't jump, and he didn't sat there sleeping. He finally started clean.
Yeah.
I didn't think that. I thought he was going to finish further back than Lewis Hamilton. So he drove a decent race, but he's just not as quick as Lewis.
When we start talking about the race, it was a snooze fest in the front because the only action we saw was between. You will say the only time they got close enough was between Bottas and Max during the pit stop. That was the only time. After that, that's it. You give Max, obviously, in the race as well, you give Max any chance to attack, and he's right there. Meaning, you give me a little bit of sleep, I'm attacking. But he doesn't have the pace. And Max said himself that he didn't have the pace.
Yeah, we saw it right at the start that Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen they were pushing each other, and they were pushing on trying to overtake Valtteri Bottas right at the start, and then going into Eau Rouge Raidillon complex, and right at the end of it, because of that long straight where the aerodynamic, I guess, if you get the slipstream, you're in good shape. But other than that, all the action from the race was the safety car, and then that was it, the pit action. It was boring.
Yeah, this is one of those snooze fest races.
Yeah,
that we're gonna get. I think they need to.
One of the issues with Valtteri Bottas was at the start of the race, he had asked the pit wall if he can utilize his ERS to be able to catch up to Lewis Hamilton in order to be within DRS. So pit wall said to him, no. And essentially that was not something that was discussed beforehand. So Valtteri Bottas was a little put off. What did you guys think of that coming off of the result that we had?
When I saw that message, I just laughed because we keep wanting Bottas to attack, bring it to Lewis, but he's being taken back. Like his pit wall is stopping him, and this is freaking ridiculous. Like you want, we the public want Hamilton to have some kind of competition up front, but the team is holding this guy back, telling no, and then he's like, when did we discuss that? I didn't even hear that we said that we're not attacking each other, we're not racing each other. Like, what kind of crap is this, pretty much?
Yeah, but that's the difference between a Lewis Hamilton and a Bottas. Last race when Lewis Hamilton wanted when the pit wall wanted him to go on a soft tire, he said, "No, I'm going to stay on the mediums." He took it in his hands and he went with it. You see that Bottas's I guess edge is taken away from his pit wall because he listens to them as you should. But if there's something that you feel that you can do to get ahead in the race, then you as a driver take that decision into your own hands and get it done and fight with your team. What we're trying to do is that they're trying to win races. They're not trying to just stay behind a teammate.
Yeah.
So just take it into your own hands, man. If you feel that you can use the ERS, then go ahead and do it. Fight, because that's what we want to see. That's what you want to see. It's ridiculous. It's like what you said, Ruben. It's ridiculous that they're handcuffing these drivers. They need to let them go and let them race, man. That's what the public tunes in for. We want to see racing.
But that's what sometimes I think, not sometimes, a lot of times, is what makes a champion. Hamilton will not ask that question. He will use every tool available to him and bring it.
If they tell him no, he's gonna fight it.
Exactly.
Say no.
Exactly. And there was a lot, actually, on Twitter, there was a lot of people asking for Nico Rosberg, like, to come back, or where is he, or I miss you. Like, that's the state that we're in.
Valtteri Bottas is a good number 2 driver, man. That's it.
He's a fast one, though.
Yeah, he's a good number 2 driver, but he's not a number 1.
Yeah. So from there, the Mercedes just were not really threatened at all for the whole race. And as Ruben mentioned, the closest Max ever got was in the pit where they double stacked him and Bottas, and Verstappen happened to catch up right behind Bottas, but was never able to get past him. Not much more to say there as far as Mercedes goes. What do you guys think?
They double stacked it again. It was a little slower this time because the 2 cars were close together, but they keep doing this double stacks super smooth. And obviously, a team that was doing quick this week, like Renault, is copying, and it looks like they practiced because they also did a double stack, and it was also flawless.
This is why I'm saying, we were discussing it before we started recording. This is why I'm saying they need to do something to these races. They need to at least add another mandatory pit stops, make it 2 pit stops, because now these pit stops seem like they're too easy. So there's no challenge to the teams. It's so easy that one pit stop is so easy. They do it so quick. Now they're making the double stack look so easy. And the fact that you only have to stop one time, that's why we get these boring races. They need to do something. I think that I've heard mentioned that the Q2 tire has to be used at the beginning of the race. They should scrap that, and they got to do a mandatory pit stops. Enter a little bit more strategy in the game, and then we'll get some closer racing.
Yeah. As far as outside of the 2 Mercedes, 3rd place finisher Max Verstappen, another lonely race for him. Didn't really get to mount too much of an attack on either car. He just faced pressure at the end from Ricciardo, and even that pressure, Ricciardo finished 4 seconds behind him, where he was, for the most part, 9 seconds? For a lot of the race, there really was no competition at the top 3. I would actually say in the top 4, there was really not much competition there.
It was almost towards the end of the race but still, it was only between Ocon, Ocon, Norris, and Albon. That was the only pretty much little battle that we had that could be said, from this race. I was hoping to last lap Lando to come out, but it wasn't there yet.
No. And it seemed like everybody was nursing their tires at the end. It sucks, because you want people to be pushing.
Yeah. I guess the next highlight would be the Renault team and their race weekend. They actually did really well. They qualified 4th. Ricciardo qualified 4th, and Esteban Ocon 6th. Yeah, Danny Ocon.
Danny Ocon.
So both drivers actually had great starts, pushing out against both the Red Bulls, and with Ricciardo, like we talked about earlier, threatening the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. After the fighting with Max in lap 1, Ricciardo settled into 4th place and was pretty much just there the whole time. Not much more to describe there, aside from when, I guess, he pitted. But like I said, it was not much competition there for that 4th place spot.
Yeah, I said Renault was gonna have a good race weekend. I wonder what it is that I don't know if it's they have a low drag car, but at these tracks at these fast tracks like a Spa or a Monza or even a Silverstone, even though they didn't have a great weekend at Silverstone at the Silverstone races, but they do really well in these conditions. And then Danny Rick is Danny Rick, man. Danny Rick is a top line driver. He needs to be in the top car. Another phenomenal weekend for him. Qualified up there, qualified 4th, finished 4th. Did have if the race was maybe 2 or 3 laps longer, he could have challenged for the podium, which would have been great to see him back on the podium and have him do a shoey. We missed those shoeys.
Did you see the fan on the thing? There was a fan on the screen.
Yeah, I was like, it was. I think he had a Red Bull.
He had a Red Bull jersey.
He had a Red Bull jersey on, and it said Max Verstappen on the bottom, and then he's doing a shoe, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, bro.
That was good.
Wow.
And then they kept looping it over because there was so many cars that you can see it. Like, all right, you gotta take this guy off, man. This guy's off completely. He's off.
What did you think of Esteban Ocon and his race? He did not have as easy a time as Ricciardo. He started obviously further back, and when he pitted, he had to overtake both Albon and Stroll to get back to wherever he was able to finish. What did you guys think of his race?
I think he had an awesome race. That even though the safety car played a major role on pretty much the whole result of the race, it helped. It helped. That was a little of the action that I liked because it kept everything so tight. Its strategy came to a must. So pretty much all constants, they double stacked it. During the safety car, they were able to push to all these guys and show, the pace that they have. And Ocon, we already know that he's always hungry for, going up front, having to race. And now, he's also he loves being on the edge as far as like when it comes to overtaking people and competing with people. And he's showing it now that he had a chance to,
Yeah, he's getting better and better. It seems like the rust is coming off from that 1 year off from driving in F1. He was doing really well before obviously when he was racing with Force India. And he has that it factor where he's aggressive, he wants to win, he wants to overtake. I think he did get hurt by the double stack in the pits, because I think that's when some cars overtook him in the pits. But he still fought back, and he was able to get up to 6 when he was running, I think in 8th, so he overtook 2 cars. He's doing well, man. And if that keeps up, if they keep improving the car, and you have 2 drivers fighting up there, maybe they can take it to Racing Point. You never know.
Yeah.
In the standings, yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to see that come along.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, like that was the highlights of the race. As you can see, it was very minimal. But aside from that, just kind of to the rest of the drivers, dude, we knew this was gonna happen, right? But Ferrari, I'm gonna call it an impotent weekend where they just all of their, not just Ferrari, but then also their customers for their engine just looked terrible. What is there anything to take away from there?
Their customers look better than them.
Yeah, Kimi actually ended up.
Their customers looked better than the Works Ferrari. I'm going to repeat this again. The customer teams looked better than the Works Ferrari. We knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. And they have major issues in Maranello. Major issues. It cannot be this way. It's horrible. You're literally fighting with back markers, man.
Listen,
your competition now is Haas and Williams.
Listen, the beginning of the race got me a little bit excited when I saw Leclerc with this pace that he had at the beginning. That was super, to me, I was like, oh my God, Leclerc with this car that is not supposed to go anywhere, and he's doing something. I even text you guys, I'm like, hey, look, it's showing that Leclerc's a fast driver. But as those tires started to wear off, so was his pace, and also as the other drivers started also to settle and get the grip on the tires that they had, the softs, were not nowhere for Leclerc at that time, and he just started to diminish.
Yeah, but it's not so much the softs; it's the engine power. In Spa, you have 2 very long straights. Going through Eau Rouge and getting onto the Camel Straight, you're flat out, man. If you just watch the onboards and you hear the engine revving, these guys have that pedal like down and it's flat out. So when you have such a long acceleration zone and your engine has no power, then you're going to get overtaken. So, on top of with the tire issues and then you have literally no power, you're going to finish where you finished today, man. It's a really sad situation. I don't even think they thought it was going to be this bad.
Yeah. So
and I don't know what is going to happen. Like, I don't know what they can do, because next week is their 1,000th Grand Prix at Monza, their home race. Thank God
that's in 2 weeks.
Be any fans.
2 weeks.
As in 2 weeks? I'm sorry, in 2 weeks. So thank God there's not going to be any fans there. They don't have to,
suffer,
witness this debacle.
Yeah, so like we were saying, Kimi finished ahead of the 2 Works Ferrari. Kimi finished in 12th, and he finished over a second ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who finished almost 2 seconds ahead of Leclerc in 14th. That's that's pretty embarrassing. And as a result, now we have it's actually pretty close still, but to see Ferrari fall down the constructors' standings with they currently have 61 points. Racing Point is at 66. McLaren's at 68. And Renault is at 59. And this is after Sainz has had a lot of trouble with the car. This is after losing the 15 points for Racing Point. And Ferrari is still trailing those two cars with Renault nipping at their heels. It's not looking good.
Man, the best message I heard all day was a text from Yhancy saying, a Civic beating a Ferrari when Gasly overtook second. I was just dying laughing when Yhancy said that, man.
VTEC deployed.
Yo.
So,
it's so incredible, man, just to see that. That is what it is. I'm sorry.
No. We also had, once again, Vettel and the pit wall back and forth where Vettel is saying, yo, look, I think I need to pit here. The tires weren't doing him well, and he they told him to stay out there, but, he ended up saying, hey, I'm going to get swallowed up by the people behind me. He ended up he was, I think, in P11 at the time, ends up in P13 where he had Raikkonen and I think Kvyat behind him. He didn't really have much of a shot with the slow tires and the slow engine.
Man, at Maranello, they have to have a meeting between these two races this week and figure out what to do, because the same thing happened to Leclerc. After he pitted, they couldn't tell him what mode to go. Are we going to go to strategy B or C? Then he's like, are we going to go to B or C? Like, they're totally different. What are we doing? And even the commentators are like, Ferrari got to get the strategies together because they're not doing anything.
They don't have to have a meeting, bro. They need to just fire the entire strategy department. They need new strategists. They can't get their act together. Even though even if you have your drivers questioning every move that you're making, that's a bad sign, man. So now on top of that, you don't have the machinery to run a proper F1 race, and now you're squabbling because you can't get your strategy right. No wonder. This is what happens. When you have all of that, what happens is that you finish 13th and 14th. That's what happens. And you're Ferrari. You're a top team. You're the probably the only team that's competed in all 70 seasons of F1. Dude, get your act together, man. You have so much money that you spend on this program. There's no reason for you to be lingering in the back. It's sad to see. And then, one thing is that if you have a bad car, because that happens, right? Once you start something and the car just doesn't work fundamentally, it's something you can do. But at the very least, if you're bad in one area and the other area, get your strategy right so you can at least put your drivers in the best positions to get points. And they're not doing that.
Yeah. See, also, even the pit wall, the pits themselves for Ferrari didn't help them at all today either. I think Leclerc's first pit, I think he went in with traffic. It was almost 10 seconds that he was...
The pit stops, right?
Yeah, the pit stops, yeah.
Okay.
So the first stop that he did, he was stopped like almost 10 seconds. And then the second one was like 5 seconds. And he said, like, guys, what's going on? Like, why did it take so long? Even Leclerc himself is saying, guys, what's going on? So I guess maybe the tables are turning a little bit. Another bad luck as the whole team is coming to Leclerc a little bit because he was happening to Sebastian Vettel every weekend.
It's not bad luck. It's incompetence.
I can't disagree with you there, man. It feels like they have a dark cloud over them. It didn't rain on the track, but it rained on them for sure.
Oh man. So moving on from there, I still can't believe that Vettel and Leclerc in Spa finished 13th and 14th. But moving on from there, Racing Point, who we all anticipated were gonna have a good race week. This is the second time. We thought that they were going to do really well in Silverstone the first time, and they just disappeared. Same here. They're supposed to, like I said, they're supposed to be strong on track. Perez qualified 8th, Stroll 9th. They had weird strategy call with Perez where he was on soft tires. The safety car happened. Everybody else pits except for Gasly, who was on hards, and we'll talk about him later. Perez stays out on softs, and then, he ends up hitting later to the point where everybody in traffic passes him, and then he essentially drops back down to last place and has to overtake everybody to finish where he did, which was, I believe it was 10th place. I just don't understand what the heck is going on here with the whole team.
Neither do I. I don't get it. And they're supposed to be doing good at these tracks, and they're just not. They qualified 8th and 9th, which is, at least they made it into Q3, but they're supposed to be faster than that, especially at a track like Spa, because they definitely have the engine for it, and their car is definitely built for high-speed circuits. But we've gone to Silverstone, and both races they underperformed, and they're doing it again. It seems like they're better at tracks that are not high-speed tracks or more lower-speed tracks or mid-speed tracks, but high-speed tracks, it doesn't seem to suit them, and I don't get why it doesn't. But I think we overhyped them, and I think they are where they're at. And now if they don't get their act together, you can see Renault or McLaren nipping at their heels as far as in the constructor stat.
Well, McLaren's actually in third, 2 points ahead of Racing Point.
Yeah, I mean they should have overtaken McLaren already, I think.
Well, they would have overtaken McLaren, but they lost 15 points, so they would have been above it. But going back to the race,
well, they deserve that. They copy.
Yeah, whatever. But at least it was not kept on the wraps like the Ferrari penalty from last year. So at least in this aspect, there was clarity to the public. But
I want to know what that Ferrari was doing. And what they took away from Ferrari that they have become this slow. I just want to know, man. It's just I don't get it. It's such a big drop off, man. It's incredible.
Speaking of penalties, speaking of penalties, they never gave a penalty to Leclerc for 2 laps. Come on, what are we doing here?
I think he did come out with an explanation saying that he had undone it and then he put it back on, and then he did that slow lap after he restarted the car, thinking that he had his seatbelts done, and then when he did that last lap at normal speeds, he was like, oh, something's wrong, and that's when he stopped straight away. So I guess that explanation is that he wasn't doing it on purpose. It was something that he thought it was done, and I don't know how the mechanisms work with the seatbelt. He thought it was done, but then he noticed it as he was driving when he did that second lap that he was going at full speed. He was like, all right, something's wrong. I gotta pit, and they pitted.
But officer, don't give me a ticket because I thought that I did it.
Oh, what, dude? What do you want to keep? You want to keep piling on?
Yes. If they do things that are wrong, they should get a penalty for it. That's all.
I agree.
Well, what is the penalty going to do? They're going to finish in 15th instead of 14th.
Behind a customer team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Ruben, you were going to say something about Racing Point?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that, the strategy, even though we all, obviously even the team has a lot of faith in Paris when it comes to nursing the tires, but the soft after the safety car just did not do the justice for him. So he should have just pitted under the safety car like most of the group did. But that's where Gasly outshined him because Gasly had the hards and, he was doing way better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get that strategy call, to be honest with you. I guess, I mean, they kind of had it right, like halfway, where they put on the fresher tires and he was able to overtake a ton of cars, but you're really sacrificing track position for that. And I think he dropped to last when he pitted, and then he had to work his way up through the field. How far really can you get up through the field?
Listen, they both dropped to last. Both. Gasly and him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kudos to them because they at least, finished in the points, but they probably could have gotten a better points haul if they would have pitted when the safety car came out.
Yeah, and really the optimal the problem was that the safety car came so early. The optimal strategy was to be on the softs. I think on the Pirelli graphic it said to like lap 18 or something like that, and then pit to hards or mediums. I think lap 16 for hards and lap 18 for mediums. But I don't know. Everybody else pitted. You're losing all that track position. I get that Perez is good on his tires. Make him be good on his second stint, so he maintains track position. That was just a mistake.
Right. He can be good on the second stint, save the tires for the end, and maybe you can do some overtaking. But at least you already have track position. You're not fighting from the back halfway through the race. It's a long race, but halfway through the race to work your way up the field, you're only going to get so far. So, I think he finished, he only got a few points. He could have got more.
Yeah. So we've mentioned them at times here during the race, but Pierre Gasly, driver of the day, Pierre Gasly, would have also been my driver of the day. What a drive by him. He was, I kept saying it throughout the race, he was Antoine Hubert's one of his best friends who passed away last year in Spa. Maybe he drove an inspired race because of that. He was literally attacking from the start. I think he climbed all the way up to 5th or 6th prior to him pitting. And then obviously he had to fight his way back. He ended up finishing 8th. Just a great race from him all around.
Yeah, it was. He's driving lights out this whole season. And he looked even more inspired than he has been previously this weekend. And you saw the shots of him, in the track walk, paying tribute to Antoine at the spot where Antoine Hubert sadly passed away. But he drove inspired. There's not another word that you can use. He drove great, and even though he wasn't put in the best position strategy wise, he took his Civic up the field and overtook. He overtook a ton of cars, to get into the points, which for an AlphaTauri, which is great. And then considering, just piggybacking off of that, considering the way Albon's driving, you got to start asking those questions. You think that Gasly will replace Albon next season? It's part of the novela. Let's continue on this storyline to see what happens.
I don't know if we see that happen, but he is driving much better than Alex Albon this year, based on the equipment that he has. I'm not sure that will be enough for him to be promoted to the main team seat, though.
Oh, we'll see.
Can we say that maybe Red Bull made the decision to demote him too early? Because now that he's actually settled down in whatever seat he has, either with AlphaTauri or Red Bull, he's showing that he's persistent. He's fighting to the field. But come on, to be at the level of Max Verstappen will be very tough. To be his competitor will be very tough.
Oh, yeah. It's showing to me, and I thought the opposite. I thought Gasly, it looks to me like Gasly is a better driver than Albon. I think he was promoted too soon, but they didn't have a choice because obviously Danny Rick left. But, on your way to success, you're going to have failures. And that's what happened with Gasly. He has the experience of driving, 6 races or probably drove more. I don't remember the exact number of races he drove with Red Bull. But he has that experience. He knows what it is to work. I think now he has even more experience in an F1 car. He seems like his overtaking has gotten better as well, which is something that he couldn't pull off when he was with Red Bull. Yeah, let's see, man. I think it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be a tough call. If they do make that call, I wouldn't blame Red Bull for making that call because he's driving lights out. He's driving really good. So, and then Albon is just not. If Albon is really hurting the team because Max is alone at the front fighting the 2 Mercs, it's always beneficial when you have 2 cars fighting 2 cars instead of 2 cars fighting 1.
Yeah. I agree with you, but and I guess due in part to where Alex Albon has been finishing, the Mercedes, they're 106 points ahead at this moment from Red Bull. The season's over, I feel like, as far as the constructors goes.
Yeah.
But
I think the season's over with both championships. Yeah. Can they create a midfield championship?
Formula 1.5.
Right now, it's like an endurance season, man.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Gasly in the future. If another team's going to come looking, knocking on his door. There's really no other team that would have the room for him. With Lando Norris being young, Danny Ricciardo's fairly young, Ferrari's got young drivers, Mercedes got George Russell waiting in the wings. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but they also have Sonoda, the kid in F2. Yeah. Who I think he won a race this weekend. Also, there are talks that he might move up to AlphaTauri to replace Kvyat. So they do have some young drivers also in the wings too.
So look, the only other spot for him in my head would be Renault, Frenchman, going to a French company. But obviously,
you have 2 French drivers.
Yeah, but obviously, like Alonso's coming in, and then from there they do have a strong young driver in Guan Yu Zhou, I think his name is. So
yeah,
I don't know. He's just going to be stuck there with AlphaTauri at the Red Bull team in general. Aside from that, we don't really talk much about the back of the grid because there's not much to talk about. George Russell got into that accident with where he was collected essentially by Giovinazzi's wreckage. Latifi was absolutely nowhere.
That was so dangerous, man. One thing that I do want to mention is that what I've noticed in a few accidents this season is that the wheels are coming off these cars. And for those that you don't notice, that don't know, there was a accident a few years back in the lower category. I think it was
F2.
GP2. Is that F2 or GP2? Where a driver was killed because, and they didn't have the halo back then. Because a wheel flew off and hit him in the head. These cars have tethers, basically, steel. I don't know if they're made out of steel, but they look like steel cables that hold the suspension and the wheels onto the chassis, so they don't fly off when they get into an accident or they hit a wall or something like that. It doesn't seem like that's working. We've seen, I think, on 3 occasions where wheels are flying off these cars, and that could have been a lot worse. The reason why Russell was hit, was because a wheel came off of Giovinazzi's car, and you see the wheel. It's not only the wheel; it's like the entire suspension arm was coming off the wheel and hit his car. So that's something that the FIA has to look into. That's pretty dangerous stuff. Those tethers are not working. They need to figure out a way to make those work, man.
Yeah. I don't know. We saw Kimi's tire come off in Austria as well. I think that was more a result of it not being put on properly.
Right, but but I think there was another. I think it was Bottas with his wheel came off, but it was in the runoff. It didn't get onto the track, but either way, it's just something that now that you see the wheel hit the car, it's a problem.
Yeah. Aside from that, though, like I said, Latifi didn't do too well. He was last, essentially, by quite a distance. Kimi Raikkonen continued on his quest. He finished 12th, like we talked about, the 2 Ferraris, 13th and 14th, and then the Haas's. The bottom is just the bottom, unfortunately. Better luck next year.
Yeah, we don't celebrate losing.
Yeah. Actually, let me correct myself. Magnussen finished last, and Latifi finished 16th. Yeah.
It's tough to be in the back.
Yeah. That about wraps it up for this race. Not really much to talk about, to be 100% honest. If we thought the Spanish Grand Prix was boring, take this race. You see, this was...
Who would have thought that Spa would... You could say that about Spa, man. Spa always puts up a good race when there's something...
There was supposed to be rain. It was setting up to be an amazing time, and here we are.
Yeah, man. But yeah, the rain... I think the rain would have definitely helped a lot, man. Would have been awesome.
Yeah, but...
That is what it is.
Next week, we'll be talking about the Monza, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Ferrari, one of Ferrari's home tracks.
Temple of Speed.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be a carnage next week on there for Ferrari. Like Yhancy said, thank God there's not going to be any fans in that race because, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
they're going to be really big.
We'll talk about that and we'll collect some of the news that's come out after this race. So we'll see you then. But before I go, I want to make sure I shout out at Jump to Start F1 on Twitter and Instagram. Also want to shout out jumptostartracing.com as our website. You can email us at jumptostartracing@gmail.com. And we are available across all podcast platforms, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. You can find us everywhere.
I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that again?
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. I gotta make sure to write these things down. So
and like and subscribe.
Yep. We're also on YouTube. Make sure to check out our channel at Jump to Start Racing.
I didn't expect you to repeat them again, but thank you very much, Wellington. You're so kind.
All right, guys. Anything else before we close up?
No, man. Can't wait to see what happens at Monza. Hopefully something happens. Rain, something. But Monza's always a fun race to watch. Again, we just like to see these cars on track. So, and considering how we started off the year, I'm glad that we get some racing, and we got 17 races. Yeah. So still got a long way to go.
Something will give in next week. Something has to happen. Watch.
Well, yeah, we have the they're gonna finally ban the party mode, so we'll see how that
So guys,
we'll see how that tune
in with us during the week next week for our Italian Grand Prix preview. We'll catch you then. Peace out.
You.
Bye, guys.